Money coming to you from theclosingprint.com on Sunday, April the 5th, 2015. In this video, we'll cover the indices. Most are near the 50 MA. Tick and Tick Q, the NYSI cumulative and NASDAQ cumulative, respectively, are moving sideways. Trend, we saw depressed readings on Thursday, spending most of the day dropping from the 1 level down to 0.70 and lower. Breadth, we saw no MAD or MDDs accumulation or distribution days, and the NYHL 52-week highs net minus net 52-week lows suggest a range. Currencies, we saw the US dollar drop to the 97.67, a lower high, and we're watching the US dollar yen cross. Bonds, we saw an inside day end of the week on Thursday, so we decided to sweep our holdings into cash. We are anticipating a double top playing out on AGG. We'll cover that, as well as news. Catalysts continue to be Greece, Yemen, the Iran deal, and job data, which saw the futures drop 19 handles on Friday. Sectors, we'll talk about the RRG chart, what sectors are strong, as well as a sector candle glance. We have most sectors look decent, and setups on the IBD50. We'll look at the Dow Industrials 30 if we have a chance, and any other charts we deem appropriate for this week's review. Here is a chart of SPY. We note the support level here at volume by price. We are testing the 204 level given futures finish on Friday. If we look at those, we can see that we dropped off of these highs at 2063 down to 2039.95. If we zoom out, we can see it becomes very clear that we have a multiple bottom here. That's possible that we could push through, form a hammer, and move higher as one scenario. If we look close, the levels here at 2031 are below, and below that are the highs that we saw back in fall, late summer at 2012. I don't think we'll get that far down, but it is a possibility, though remote. And then again right here at 1974. Here is a chart of the comp. Note this level down here at 48.25 is the top of this volume by price support level, and a previous top that we broke out, pull back to breakout again for the third time. So we could see that as a possible downside move. Note where slow stow is. MACD continues to move lower. So we could see further downside on the comp. We'll talk about the sectors in a few minutes. The New York Stock Exchange Composite Index of 2,000 stocks. Note that on Thursday we closed higher after testing the 50 period moving average, the 200 period moving average on Wednesday. We reversed, so we have 2,000 stocks, a broader measure than the 500 S&P, and we note that we had 3.39% up volume versus a mediocre down volume. So we had net buyers on Thursday, looking pretty good. And note the 50 period moving average is pointing higher as well on the NYA. Note the Russell 2000, we are above the 10 period EMA, the red line, as well as the 20 period moving average, so we're looking much better than the other indices. Let's take a look at the industrials. And of course the Dow Industrials, we are down, trading inside of this volume by price congestion level. We could conceivably find lows here and push higher. The 10 period EMA, we tested the blue line on Thursday. We got rejected somewhat, but we do have a spinning top and the possibility that we could move higher. From the bearish side, we can see if we connect these highs and these lows, a parallel channel would bring us down to the 200 period moving average, the magenta colored line, around 17,350. In addition, we also have to consider the net 52-week highs and net new 52-week lows. The difference between the two, note the 10-period EMA is moving sideways. We had a nice stick on Thursday. As we pointed out on the New York Stock Exchange Composite, NYA, we're above the 20-period, and we closed higher on 2,000 stocks, a nice broad measure. But the point about the NYHL is, note that in October when we saw the low, and again in December, that we pushed down through the histogram remarkably. So the net 52-week lows far outnumber the net 52-week highs. We don't see the case here. So most stocks are trading near their 52-week highs. So that's something to consider. This is telling us basically that we're in a sideways range. April is the strongest month of the year statistically, so that's another bullish caveat for the bears. Here is a chart of NYMO with the New York Stock Exchange Composite above. Note the smaller pushes above the zero line into the positive region on NYMO, and we have NYSI basically moving sideways. The most recent crossover bullish was after we saw this minus 60 on the NYMO. For the most part, breadth is positive, but with these low readings, we are moving sideways as one would expect. Looking at the NAMO, the Nasdaq McClellan oscillator is less positive than the NYA. Tick cumulative for the NYSI composite. Note the dips below. We're forming a rounding top here. We are in a crossover situation on Thursday. We'll likely move a little bit lower, but this could turn up very easily if we saw tick cumulative start to hit the plus 1,000 level multiple times. We'll be looking for that for bullish confirmation. If we start seeing minus 1,000 repeatedly, that could be indication that early on that we will be seeing lower prices on Monday. And tick Q for the Nasdaq composite, the cumulative, fared much better on the end of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where we continue to move higher. Note the 10 EMA continues to push higher as well. Note the blue stick on the comp. One of the other positives for the bulls here is the put-call ratio, CPC. We hit a level and closed at, you can see here, at 1.12, an area of previous inflection. Note the green arrows also relates to previous bottoms. Note the US dollar. I made a mistake on the level. We closed right at 97.67. Suffice to say that we're moving sideways to slightly off the current levels on Wednesday, Thursday on the US dollar. More importantly, let's take a look at the US dollar versus the yen. The elder impulse, this line here, is the US dollar, and the Japanese yen is these sticks here. Note we're pretty much moving sideways in a range. Note the previous peaks in the yen here in October, again right here in December and January. So that marked lows on the New York Composite as well as the other indices. So we'll keep an eye on the yen versus US dollar across going into this week. Let's take a look at commodities for a second. Copper, we saw that breakout here, pull back to breakout right at this level of 273. We saw some buyers step in on Wednesday and Thursday, so this could possibly move higher. We did change trend. The 10 EMA crossed above as well as the 20. The green line is the 50 period moving average. So as you would expect with the home builders and the XHB doing well last week. This should continue to move higher. Also keep an eye on Home Depot as well as Sherwin-Williams, SHW. Crude oil, WTIC, continues to move sideways in this range. Note the moving averages and this large volume by price bar that continues to keep prices suppressed. Note the volume on Wednesday and Thursday, and Bollinger Bands are tightening. I would expect this to stay in this range for the most part and possibly move a little bit lower. Gold as well. Note the volume by price congestion here. We had this double bottom, higher low, and we keep testing this level right around 1210, and we have the 50 period moving average above that turned lower last week, as we pointed out in the previous Sunday video. Looking at silver, we had this multiple bottom. We are trading right around the 50 period moving average and look pretty good going into the week. If we get above this level here, we have a Kirby overhead up to the 1650 level. Taking a look at bonds for a moment, AGG, the Barclays Aggregate Bond Fund, the benchmark for most bond funds. We note the double top here, the zone. All the moving averages are moving higher, but we're anticipating some resistance as well as slow stow in the caution zone. 14.1 is nearing that level, so we could see this push higher and test this 111.94 level. And of course TLT, we see that we're holding the 10 period EMA. We moved off of the level at 132. That gave us some concern on Wednesday, which is one of the reasons why we rolled out of our positions on Thursday. We will reassess if we break above this level, so keep that in mind if you're trading bonds. Looking at the real estate shares, the sector IYR, we note the volume by price level that we're supporting here and a triangle pattern after breaking out of this descending channel. We broke higher, moved back down, consolidated, and we could conceivably move higher with slow stow pointing the way. MACD's above its signal line. The transports looks pretty beaten up. We're sitting right at the 200 period moving average. We could drop lower. Note the reverse Kirby and this multiple support zone. We anticipate that we could see a move higher if the indices cooperate as well. Slow stow is near 20. That could turn around very quickly. XBI still moving lower to sideways, so any shares that you trade on the biotech and pharmaceutical sector you need to keep an eye on this week. We could see a move lower back down and test the 50 period again, or a move higher and above the 10 period EMA. Note we closed above the 200 period moving average, a magenta colored line on XLB Materials, slow stows mid-range, and MACD trying to cross. Energy against this trend line again, we have this volume by price level to deal with. Remember WTIC as well as electric providers. It's starting to wind down the winter months, so we'll watch this level on XLE. Note MACD and where slow stow is. XLF looks pretty decent considering we'll have earnings in next week. Not this week, but next week. Alcoa kicks off on Wednesday, I believe, and then we have the big banks, money center banks, reporting the following week. GS, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, etc. But note where we are. We are right at the 10 period EMA, the blue line. We have the 50 period below us. We have this ascending trend line we bounced off of 2 weeks ago. Slow stow continues to move higher, and we could see MACD turn. Now that all depends on what happens with money center banks on the fate of XLF. If that turns higher and earnings are good, we could see April strength play out again for this year. XLI Industrials at lows. Note the reverse Kirby here and the 200 period moving average down below. Slow stows pointing lower as well as MACD. XLK Technology testing this multiple bottom here. as well as this volume by price level. And we have this ascending trend line, higher lows, which has confluence with the 200 period moving average down here at the 40.25 level. Note slow still is turning over, and MACD is moving lower as well. XLP looking okay. We had a decent day on Thursday. We have this volume by price level to deal with on this otherwise defensive sector XLP. Note slow still in MACD. XLU, 4 or 5 candles right along the 10 period EMA, the magenta line. We have the 50 period rolling over, and we broke above this descending channel. But we have this volume by price congestion to deal with. Slow still is getting near the caution zone. MACD continues to move higher. XLV, this was a leading sector most of the last couple of years. We had this 6.18% decline over the last few weeks, and we like to see this sector pick up again for an indication that we could be moving higher over the coming weeks. XLY, the cyclical sector, XLY moves higher when the economy is doing better, so it's interesting to see that we're holding the 10 period EMA in this otherwise ascending channel. We have this trend line going back to October lows that we've held, moving higher here, and we see slow still continue to move higher as well, and MACD could turn or continue to move lower. So if any of these sectors break down, that would be an indication that we'll see lower prices on the indices in the coming weeks. So let's take a look at the IBD50. I've ranked these by percent change so you can see what did well last week and what didn't do so good. And we can list these by sector. Cyclicals, remember, these did quite well. Healthcare, need to see that turn around. And of course, technology, about 30-70 winners to losers. So let's take a look at some setups. I'm going to go through a few of these. ACT moving down to the 50 period moving average. We've got this volume by price level. Slow still is oversold, could turn, and we just need to see MACD get back above its signal line. Prices are below the 10 EMA, so we need to see that change as well. Auto Home ATHM looking pretty good, holding the 10 period EMA. Nice day on Thursday, above the volume by price bar. Bollinger Bands are fairly tight, above the 20 and the 50. Slow still is moving higher. This could move higher as well. Note MACD is above its signal line. ATHM. Note Biogen, right at the 50 period moving average, tested it on Wednesday. There's really not a lot of volume up here. Slow still oversold, could turn, and we want to see MACD get back above its signal line as well as price above the 10 EMA. But this could set up if XLV and XBI, IBB, all of those sectors start to perform again. CBM, Cambrex Corp, we noted the flag on Wednesday. If you took it on Friday, congratulations. This one's looking pretty good. Slow still has reached over the caution zone, and MACD is above its signal line. This could move a bit higher, but I'd like to see it flag out first and let the 10 EMA catch up. EPAM pointed this out on a weekend blog post. Note how prices accelerated once it broke out here in the first part of the year, got back above the 10 period EMA, ran up, got stopped here, came back down to the 10 EMA, moved higher. We have this topping candle right at this volume by price bar, moving sideways. Bollinger Bands are very tight, and we could see this break out if XLK and the technology sector perform this week. Note the volume on Thursday. Slow still is a bit in the caution zone, so keep an eye on that. And MACD, we need to see that turn as well. But this is setting up, could blow out in the next couple of days. Harmer
Harman looking pretty good here, moving sideways, price right at the 10 EMA, tested the 50 period, had a nice consolidation period after this nice gain. Slow stow is pointing a little bit lower, so keep an eye on that. That could turn back around very easily like it did previously. And MACD get back above its signal line. This one could go. So I wouldn't count this name out just yet because of a few items like the slow stow. Because of slow stow presently not setting up correctly. MANH, Manhattan Associates, holding its own, nice relative strength right at the 10 EMA, closed slightly above. Note there's no overhead supply here. We have the upper Bollinger Band and recent highs as a target. Slow stow is a little bit overheated, but MACD looks like it's turning and wants to get back above its signal line here on the short duration. Keep an eye on NOAA as well. Asset managers nicely above the 10 period EMA, which keeps rising. Also note slow stow is turning back up, nice volume, and MACD is above its signal line. Note SCI, Service Corp is looking pretty good. We had a nice move off of the 10 period EMA, price is above the 10 EMA, slow stow is near oversold, turning, and MACD is going to get back above its signal line, it looks like, this week. So keep an eye on SCI. Also watch Tractor Supply, TSCO, could be setting up. Note the 50 period moving average. We had a nice move off of that on Thursday. We could regain the 10 EMA. And slow stow is near oversold. That could turn up as well as MACD. So all three criteria could set up this week. Keep an eye on TSCO. Under Armour isn't the best setup, but I do note that it's holding the 20 period moving average. You have the 10 period just slightly overhead. There's no volume up here to resist the move higher. Bollinger Bands are starting to tighten. The 50 period is moving higher. Slow stow is at the 50 area. It could turn, and MACD could get back above its signal line if prices start to move back higher. So keep an eye on Under Armour for the week ahead. And be sure to check earnings on all of these when these guys report. Alcoa reports on Wednesday, I believe, so that's something to keep in mind. Ulta flagging nicely, holding the 10 period EMA. Note the Bollinger Bands are tightening. This volume by price bar. The 20 period is just below. We have two nice little wicks here coming down to test the 20 period. Slow stow is moving higher. MACD could get back above its signal line. UTHR holding the 10 period. Bollinger Bands are starting to tighten, but we'd like to watch slow stow, see if that can turn back up and MACD can get back above its signal line. And W-Wave looking pretty good as well. Watch slow stow. MACD is above its signal line. Price is above the 10 EMA. We had a little bit of selling on Thursday. Watch the 10 EMA. This could set up if slow stow can manage to turn.
Okay, so this is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. For you new traders, be sure to check out these top 5 or 6 videos, which will give you a better edge on understanding the markets, taking setups, and where to position yourself for the highest risk reward on your trade. In addition, if you don't subscribe to the blog, this is a spam-free site. Enter your email address in here and you can get these delivered to your email every day. You'll note my tweets are here, the watch list for the week or the day. You can just scroll down through these, keeping track of the trades that we're looking at, whether they're high type flags or Bollinger Band setups. It's also a place for me to document the trades and thoughts going into the weeks. So I hope this helps. Take care. We'll talk to you on the stream on Monday.